Welcome to the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Matthew Betz and Betz Okada.
Woo-wee. It is Conference Championship Week. Ladies, gentlemen, listeners, I don't know, bets. I guess you fall in there somewhere.
Yeah, thanks for including me on that one.
You're welcome. There are 3 games, unless you count the Pro Bowl, which I do not, left in the National Football League 2019 season. The 100th season, as we all know from all the things that have been going on. Betz, how do you feel right now? 3 games left, college football over. It's wild.
I'm not in a good place, man. This is sad. I like this time of year. You know, you're digging into some rookie tape, getting ready for Dynasty, which, by the way, I have started, and oh my God, this is going to be fun. For Dynasty and for rookies. But, you know, it's just such a long season, and we finally get to this culmination. Of course, more football on the TV is a good thing. So when it's not on the TV, it is a bad thing. But you and I will be working behind the scenes, you know, trying to refine our process a little bit and really get ready for 2020.
Yeah. In fact, let's take a quick sidetrack that's not on the show doc, Betz, and talk about, well, let's just mainly talk about Joe Burrow, shall we? Because that is the number one, I was going to say story, but the other thing is the number one pick. There's almost no way he's not the number one pick of the Cincinnati Bengals unless the Bengals sell him for the farm and someone else picks him number one. Or something comes out that he did something horrible and is going to be arrested. Those are the only ways I could potentially see him not going to the Bengals number one. He had an incredible national championship. Here's my question for you, Betz. You're sitting at the, let's say 106, because that's the middle of the draft, of rookie drafts. What would you be willing to give in a super flex for the 101 to get Joe Burrow?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously you'd have to be able to give up the 106 plus something. And I think it's going to take a pretty good amount to do it. Even with this class and how stacked this running back group is, and obviously a couple of stud wide receivers there in the first round, most likely for our rookie drafts, you know, I just think the hype around Joe Burrow is massive. So you'd have to give up probably your 106, and if you had like a later first round pick in the same year this year, I think you'd have to give up both. And if not, you'd have to give up the 106 and probably a caliber player that's like an RB2 or a wide receiver 2-3 fringe type of player. Like that's kind of how I think people are viewing the 101 this year.
Yeah. Not as someone who has a 101, so it's hard to say, but I don't know if I would even give him up for 2 first if I thought they were going to be mid firsts. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be pretty dang good in the National Football League. So there you go. That's our small dynasty segment here on Conference Championship weekend. We will get a lot more into all that kind of stuff as the regular season and playoffs of the National Football League end, and we head towards the draft, the combine, and all that stuff. So tune in for that. Hop into our Patreon if you're not, because there will be tons of good conversation in there about all the rookies, and it'll be a fun off season.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All right. Before we get to the massive slate of games we have to preview this week, let's quickly hit on some news.
I got great news, guys.
All right, Betz. There's not too much in the way of actual football news here this week, but we will hit on the Odell Beckham Jr. incident because it is pretty much all you can see right now on sports news channels. Wild situation. He was all over the place after the LSU win in the national championship.
Oh, he sure was.
Yeah, several things of questionable action. But what he's mainly being hounded for right now is slapping a security guard on the butt in the locker room after the game, and an arrest warrant has been issued for simple battery for Odell for this incident. Absolutely wild, all over the place. Betz, let's just get your general temperature on this situation. Do you think this is something that's going to affect his play next year or playing time next year?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't want to go down the legal path of what's been going on or really even speak to that, or even like whether that's right or wrong decision to make. Obviously, that's a very questionable choice. But, there's been so many other things that other NFL players have done that are far worse than what he did. And obviously, the video is going around. So I think he was doing it in having fun or like making a joke or just being probably a little intoxicated. Like, it's, I'm not saying it's good to do by any means, but I don't think it's really something that warrants, a suspension or like anything like that where he's in jail. Like, if that happens, give me a break. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal.
Yeah, I happened to be looking through some props for today's show and found the Bovada prop, will Odell Beckham Jr. be sentenced to jail time in 2020? And yes is at plus 800. So it's probably not going to happen.
I would not be playing with that at all.
No. Now, the one thing I will say that it kind of feeds into, and it was not just that incident, but his entire slew of antics that night, which there are a number of other videos of him doing stupid things, is I'm wondering if this fuels the fire of the like rift and issues that he's having with the Browns, conversations or quotes that came out where he said teams should come and get him if they wanted to. He seems very unhappy there. I mean, I'm not trying to say this is heading in an A-B direction, because holy mackerel, is that a whole nother situation?
Good God.
But do you have any concern that Odell's career is a hotbed for issues that is going to affect his fantasy value in any way?
I mean, it's just the trend that like you don't like to see, right? Like he's known for being that type of player that has these kind of like little sideline temper tantrums or doesn't really hide his displeasure with the team or what's happening. And like you're alluding to, now we have a year with Cleveland where he's had a couple of those incidents. Now what happened this past Monday night at the college football national championship. And, it's just at some point like, dude, get a grip on these decisions and really be able to minimize that, right? You don't see other stars like Michael Thomas or other stars, like Tom Brady over the years. Like they're not doing like these stupid things, like just so it's frustrating. But, from a fantasy football perspective, I don't know that it really changes a lot unless it changes how the Cleveland Browns view him, in which case we could see him potentially elsewhere in the league. Certainly he'll be on an NFL roster, no doubt about it. But I was always in the mindset of like this season, coming off of that sports hernia, it's a super painful injury to play through. No doubt he was affected and still put up 1,000 yards. So entering next season, I was pretty excited about the rebound with Baker, the rebound with Odell, and now it just kind of clouds the situation. So I think for now, it's not a huge change in how I view him, but certainly if we see any other incidents like this, like in Dynasty, I might be trying to get out while I can.
Okay, that was going to be my last question, because it seems like you sort of went back and forth there. Just baseline, buy or sell in Dynasty?
I think right now he's still a buy. If I see any more of this kind of behavior, though, I might just try to get max value while he's still in his prime and just get out now.
All right. I like it. And then quickly, just some retirement news. Antonio Gates, who was basically already retired, did not play at all in 2019, and Luke Kuechly, which was very surprising, kind of similar to the Andrew Luck situation, honestly. Same draft, too, I believe. They have both officially retired. Not too much fantasy impact there, but just thought you guys should know. Also, Larry Fitzgerald will be returning for another season. So while everybody else is retiring at a youthful age, and good for them, Larry Fitzgerald out here at 37 years old trying to play another season.
Love it.
He said he had the most fun, or some of the most fun he ever had in his career last year, I guess, with Kyler Murray. It's got to be pretty fun. and he'll be back. Any fantasy impact there, Betz?
Not much. I mean, I played a little bit of DFS this year with Larry Fitzgerald, and I do regret it. I think I'll have a solid game or two here or there, but I think for our fantasy radar, unless we see something change drastically, at this stage of his career, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's not necessarily, a fixture in our fantasy lineups, and I don't think he should be treated that way. The only thing that I'll say as far as fantasy is that I was really hoping to see more Andy Isabella. I was really hoping to see Hakeem Butler, who seems to be a really big forgotten name in Dynasty. Not that long ago, you and I were talking about him as one of our favorite wide receiver prospects. So I think it just means less playing time for those kind of guys. And, for that reason, that's a little bit of a bummer. But Larry's great, man. And the NFL is better when he's on the field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would have liked to see the opportunity for, I mean, Kirk is already the one, but to really just become the clear one without this old one still hanging around. And then for more targets to open up for those other guys, this may put a little damper on that. So I agree there, but he's Larry Fitzgerald. We gotta let him back in for a year. He's
real quick before we move on. What are you buying Hakeem Butler for? Have you been inquiring in your Dynasty leagues to try to reach out and get someone like that?
I haven't specifically been asking around for him, but I may have to start doing it because that is a good call. I think I would certainly be willing to give a mid-second, maybe a low second, but I think that would probably get him.
Oh, I think it would too. I think you could even in some leagues, depending on, how in tune the owner is or was with him as a prospect, probably even like a third-round pick. So I'm gonna do a little shopping later today.
Yeah, I like it. I'll do some shopping. All right. That's it for the news. Before we get into the championship previews, Betz, this is the first weekend of the year where the winners of these games get trophies.
Oh, we're talking trophies.
Oh, that's right. They get conference championship trophies, and then they go play for the Lombardi. And the next best thing to those three, technically, trophies is a Trophy Smack trophy for your fantasy football league. In fact, it made me better than the conference championship trophies. Let's be honest. I think the teams just throw those away if they don't win the Super Bowl because who cares? But if you are the champion of your fantasy league, you definitely want a trophy. You want it to be as incredibly beautiful as those conference championship trophies. And that's pretty much what you get at Trophy Smack because those trophies are insane. Plus, you get a free championship ring, which the conference championship winners don't even get. You got to win the whole thing to get the ring. So, yeah, you can head out, go to TrophySmack.com, buy a trophy, use code REDSHIRTS, get yourself a free ring. I forget who it was, Betz, and I'm sorry to whoever it was, but maybe you remember that posted a picture of the ring they got on Twitter. Do you remember?
I do, yes. That was both the winners, one of our Writers League, Kevin Nail, shout out to Kevin, and then as well, winner of the Listener League, John Warner, at Fantasy FB Nut on Twitter, posted that out. I just sent those out last week. I was sad to see them go, but they deserve to be in the hands of the winner and on the finger of the winner for that matter. So yeah,
True.
Those products are awesome, man. And it's just so good to support good people and their work. So we truly do support Trophy Smack. They're awesome. Definitely check those guys out.
100%. All right, let's do some conference championship previews, Betz.
Let's do it.
Ooh, do we start in the AFC or do we start in the NFC? You know what? Let's go alphabetical. You know what? No, let's not go alphabetical. Let's save the best for last because I think people are going to be a lot more excited about the Titans-Chiefs game. So we're gonna hold that savor and let it marinate a little bit and head over to the Packers and the 49ers, which I think is going to be an equally fun game. Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers heading to the Bay to face San Francisco and Jimmy G. Over under set at 46.5, which is not too high, certainly not compared to the other game. And the 49ers are favored by 7.5. In fact, the exact same line as the other game. Spoiler alerts. Quite a hefty favor, in my opinion. I suppose that over the course of the entire season, the 49ers did seem like the better team overall. So there is that. But I feel like the Packers have been coming on pretty strong. We got two great defenses, certainly up front. We have a great quarterback for the Packers and a guy who's been playing pretty well for the 49ers. And we've got some very solid running backs to go around and one or maybe 1.5 elite wide receivers. So there's a lot to unpack here, Betz. Let's start at quarterback position because that's what you do. Aaron Rodgers, on the road in the playoffs against the number one pass defense in the regular season. Lots of signs pointing to potential struggles here. But do you believe that the quasi sort of GOAT, in some people's opinions, pulls out a great fantasy performance here?
You know, I think it's in the realm of possibility, right? It's Aaron Rodgers, and of course, he always has that perceived upside. But for me, honestly, I don't see a lot from Rodgers in this game, and it's not even really the fact that it's Rodgers' fault. I mean, he actually played very well last week, was hitting on a lot of throws and really clutch late in the game, especially. But this 49ers secondary is now healthy. This defensive front is now healthy. And I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure in this game. And he doesn't have anyone else to throw the ball to, not named Devontae Adams. I mean, we spent all off season literally trying to figure out who the wide receiver 2 was in this offense. And it turns out it is no one.
The Packers couldn't even figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's no upside with Jimmy Graham. Like MVS was on the field for 3 snaps last week. Alan Lazard tweaked his ankle. Like, I don't know. I don't know who's going to support Aaron Rodgers enough to make him, you know, a top DFS play this week. Certainly we can talk about tournament lineups, and I think it's smart to sprinkle him in because he'll be lower owned than the obvious Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, I don't feel excited about Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, I alluded to it earlier a second ago with being under pressure. I mean, you look at the sack rate for this Niners defense with Dee Ford out of the lineup, it's at 4%. In the lineup, it's at 11%. That's how big of a difference he makes. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think you can do a lot better than Rodgers this week.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with the return of Ford and Quan Alexander. They are insane, and it makes a massive difference to this 49ers defense, and it will make a massive difference to Aaron Rodgers. So I agree with you here. Probably my least favorite, actually, quarterback to play on this slate. I'm going to be staying away. So let's move away from him and to an even less interesting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Wow, crazy that he is here. This man wins. I don't know what else to say. He apparently soaked up some Tom Brady genes, and here he is in the NFC Championship game. Packers pass defense, also good. Packers pass rush, elite, almost the level of the 49ers. Do you have concern that Jimmy G could also bust here? Are you just avoiding the NFC quarterbacks entirely?
Well, I'll say this. My top 2 plays are Pat Mahomes and Ryan Tannehill in that order. So Jimmy G comes in at 3 for me, and that's even considering the price. You know, $5,600 on DraftKings is a good salary saver, and there's definitely a realm of possibility where Jimmy G has a nice game. But when you're looking at his game logs and his trends, he hasn't topped 300 yards passing in a game since the middle of November. So, like, you know, we know what this offense is and what they want to do, which is pound the rock and run out of 21 personnel extremely well, which they've been, you know, very good at. And I think this is a scenario where that's more likely to happen. You know, we've seen the Green Bay Packers be beat on the ground. They've been better through the air. So I think there is enough weapons around him that certainly he can have a good game. And again, it's a nice contrarian quarterback play in a tournament lineup. But I don't love him, if I'm being honest. You know, I'm probably staying away from these 2 guys unless I'm making a ton of lineups. And then, of course, I'll sprinkle them in here and there.
All right. Let's throw in some player props here, Betz, because player props can be pretty fun for our listeners and you, not for me. It's here. But I thought this one was interesting. Aaron Rodgers, total touchdown passes, 1.5 is the line, plus 100. Jimmy G is also 1.5, but he's minus 130. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's
still taking the under, or are you interested in the over?
That's super interesting. I'll go ahead and take the under. And the only reason why is because when they get in close, it almost seems like it's Aaron Jones territory, which was the opposite of what we used to become accustomed to with Mike McCarthy as the head coach, right? When they would get around the 5-yard line, it was these little out routes to Randall Cobb and jump passes to Devontae Adams. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the under. I don't think he gets to 2.
All right. I feel like Devontae Adams catches a touchdown in this game, and that just means that one other guy, the other Jimmy G has to manage a touchdown, or one of those randos, MVS, Lazard, someone, Aaron Jones maybe even has to just sneak one in, and he bounces over this. So I might be interested in that. But all right, that's quarterbacks. Let's do the running backs. Very interesting running back situation here, Betz, because we have the rushing touchdown individual leader the regular season, Aaron Jones, versus the team rushing touchdown leader of the NFL in the 49ers, but split between several guys. We saw Tevin Coleman actually kind of have a little breakout after a stretch of Raheem Mostert excellency. What are you doing with this? Let's start with the 49ers because that's a little bit crazier. What are you doing with this trio, quadro? I don't know. There's a lot of guys.
Did you just say excellency?
Yes.
Is that a word?
Sure. You call Kings his excellency.
All right, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe you, but sure.
I spell it.
Yeah, man, for the Niners, like you said, it's just been so difficult to predict. And last week, I kind of mentioned I was down on Raheem Mostert because of his playing time and his snap percentage was steadily decreasing. Meanwhile, his touches were also decreasing. So I don't know that it was really that difficult to predict more usage with Tevin Coleman. I will say I lucked into playing him in quite a few lineups because you needed to save salary somewhere, and he was $3,500. So I kind of lucked into a nice 22 carry performance there with 2 touchdowns. So I think in general, the plan for the Niners is to mostly have this be a 2-headed backfield, and we can live with that in fantasy. You know, Matt Breida only got a handful of touches last week, and actually after the game, Shanahan came out and was talking about the fact that, yeah, Matt Breida got the first carry, but the plan was to have Mostert carry most of the work. And then he said, he started cramping in his calf. Yeah, they like that.
See what you did there.
Yeah. Started cramping in his calf. And then Tevin Coleman basically, he had a couple of good drives and he said, I can't take him out at that point. So I truly feel like this is going to be a hot hand approach. My advice for doing, DFS this week and for trying to predict this is to play multiple lineups and have a couple with Coleman and a couple with Mostert. But the thing that we need to consider is Mostert is significantly cheaper this week. The players, are different prices, and it's huge. Like Mostert down to $4,300 on DraftKings, Tevin Coleman all the way up to $5,700 from $3,500 last week. So
wow, if
you're asking me to pick one straight up, I'm taking Mostert, but certainly I'll play some Tevin Coleman.
All right, I like it. I think that's a pretty good summary. Okay, now let's switch over to the Packers side where it's a much more clear-cut leader in Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams still around and does things here and there, but Aaron Jones has really stepped up, kind of become an elite fantasy player, and honestly one of the better running backs in the league overall. 49ers run defense, not quite as good as their pass defense. Is this a game where the Packers lean on Aaron Jones and we see a big game from him?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, we saw what happened with Dalvin Cook last week, right? Like 9 carries for 18 yards, and part of that is game script, but it's Dalvin Cook. That doesn't happen for a guy like that. And obviously Aaron Jones had a fantastic year and he's a great running back. But if Dalvin couldn't do it against this now fully healthy Niners secondary, I don't know that Aaron Jones is going to do it on the ground. I think he'll have to produce through the air to make his fantasy day, and especially for DFS tournaments. So I'm lower on Jones, certainly way more than I was last week. Last week, he was one of my favorite plays. This week, I'm fading Aaron Jones. But again, in a 2-game slate, like you could do obviously way worse. And I don't think he'll be as owned as, let's say, Derrick Henry. So if you want a little bit of leverage and looking elsewhere to try to get an advantage in big field tournaments, then certainly I think Aaron Jones is in play.
To your point of receiving yards, Aaron Jones' receiving yard prop line is set at 21.5. What do you think about that?
I like it. I would take the over on that because, like I said, you can't run against this front seven. And if Vegas is predicting that 7-point spread for the Niners, in theory, routers will be throwing the ball more. So yeah, give me the over on that. I'm going to do that bet right now, Okada.
Hey, I like it. All right. Let's have it to the wide receiver position then. We'll start with Davante Adams this time because he is the clear leader of this entire pack. In fact, probably of the slate overall. He's been good, and he's been all they've got, so he has to be good. How good do you expect him to be in this game?
I mean, man, you just chase the targets and the volume, and of course, it's what we talk about in fantasy all the time. Double-digit targets in 9 of his last 10 games, 100-plus yards in 7 of his last 8. I don't know how he's not your top DFS play at wide receiver this week, even with guys like Tyreek Hill and Deebo Samuel out there. So yes, Davante Adams, I think he has a very nice game. I saw a beat reporter for the Packers kind of predicting that the Niners will go ahead and actually kind of do a little bit of a shadow coverage on him without Sherman. So I think Sherman's going to be the other side of the field. A lot of the times when Devontae Adams is lined up, I think it's going to be their cornerback 2, and I think it's going to be a little bit of safety help over the top. But the trust that these guys have with Rodgers and Devontae Adams is going to overcome that. He's matchup proof. Yes, I definitely want to play some Devontae Adams.
The time when they played in Week 12 and Rodgers and the Packers got utterly stifled by this team, they only scored 1 touchdown. It was Devontae Adams catching a pass from Rodgers. So I think they're going to score more than 1 touchdown this time, and I think there's a very good chance one of them goes to Devontae Adams. So I think he's a safe play. I'm assuming you're not going to touch anyone else in that receiving core. Any dart throws?
Oh, God. I mean, you know, at this point, like, it's a 2-game slate, so you have to be willing to be uncomfortable with some of your decisions. But I'm looking elsewhere in a game that has a higher over-under for the Chiefs and Titans. I'll play a ancillary piece there over any of these Packers wide receiver 2, 3, 4s. And certainly there's no way Jimmy Graham finds my lineup this week. So, yes, I'm off of the rest of the pieces.
Yeah, I do not disagree. Let's head to the Niners side of the ball. We got some Deebo Samuel. We got some Emmanuel Sanders. We got some. Let's include George Kittle here. We're just going to talk pass catchers. Let's start with George Kittle because I think he may be the best play of any position on the entire slate. But he's also probably going to be the most chalked play on the entire slate. What are you doing with George Kittle?
You think he'll be more owned than Kelsey?
I think there's a good chance he is. Kelsey has kind of had better numbers all year, but I feel like Kittle is hot right now and has really stepped up in the biggest games. So
I don't know, man.
Kelsey's
Kelsey's coming off like 45 DraftKings points last week.
Yes, he did have 3 touchdowns, so you got to give him that.
I mean, both guys certainly are going to be very highly owned, and for good reason. I do love George Kittle this week, man, and especially, you know, if there's anyone that's playing DFS, myself included, I feel like we in general tend to get too reactionary to what just happened. And last week we were expecting a good game from George Kittle, and dude, he dominated the blocking game, but that doesn't work for DFS. He only had a handful of receptions and didn't eclipse, I think it was like 18 yards was his total, so not even over 20. So if anyone's looking at game logs or box scores, they're going to miss the boat on George Kittle. So I will definitely be playing him here. The way you beat the Packers is over the middle of the field between the numbers, and who plays there a ton? It's George Kittle. Not to mention the last time these two teams met, 6 for 129 and a touchdown. Yes, give me George Kittle.
Yeah, most receiving yards the Packers have allowed to a tight end in the last 5 years was that game by George Kittle. So, yeah, he can torch him. Yeah, I'm going to like him. What's the price difference between him and Kelsey? Do you have that on hand, perchance?
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now. Off the top of my head, I think it's Kittle, 5,800. Yep, that's correct. And Kelsey is 7,100. So a pretty significant savings.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with Kittle at that price difference. I certainly think Kelsey will be great as well, but I think I would have Kittle in almost all my lineups if I was playing. All right, receivers, Deebo, Emmanuel. Are you gonna? Let's start with this. Between the two, who are you leaning?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Deebo. I mean, Sanders is a little bit cheaper on DraftKings, but I'm gonna lean with Deebo mostly for the fact that, you know, we talked about it last week. I love the way he gets involved in this offense. Screen passes, jet sweeps. He's averaging, I think, 2 rush attempts over his last month of games or so. So he's getting the ball in a variety of ways. And at this stage of the season, let's not forget, as good as Emmanuel Sanders has been in general, he's playing like his 19th straight game or something like that. Like he hasn't had a bye week this season. And remember, he's coming off the Achilles injury. So I'm not saying he's not playing well. I'm not saying that he's not still productive, but you know, certainly at this stage of the season, I'm going to take the youth. I'm going to take the fresh legs. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel, who almost found the end zone last week, was down at the 1. So I think he is a solid play this week. Again, we just talked about the fact that you can beat this team over the middle of the field. So yeah, give me some Deebo. Yeah,
I'm going to agree with you there. I think it's the right call. I think you could sneak Emmanuel into a couple lineups too, but
yeah, for sure.
All righty. I think that covers it. Any super sleepers you want to talk about, or are we done with this game?
Not really. I mean, Kendrick Bourne is kind of interesting just because he has a little bit of touchdown equity and, of course, had that solid game last week. But, you don't want to really rely on that. He's a dart throw at best.
Agreed. Let's go with the pick here, Betz. 49ers favored, as we talked about, by 7.5. Which way are you going here?
I'm taking the Niners, man. I think they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and I think that Jimmy G will do enough over the middle of the field to move the ball, and I think that they can get it done here. 7.5 is a big number to lay, but I'm going to take it.
Yeah, it is big. I think the Packers will cover it, but I picked the Packers to make the Super Bowl before the start of the season, Betz. I don't know if you remember. It was Patriots-Packers was my call. And they've gotten pretty dang close. And if this game was in Lambeau, I think I would take them. But in San Francisco, with the defense where it is right now with Ford and Alexander back, not to mention everybody else, Bosa and Armstead, it's just too much. I don't think Rodgers can overcome it. I think he gets pretty close to doing it, but I don't think he does. I think the 49ers are headed to the Super Bowl. All right, let's head to the AFC to find out who else is going to the Super Bowl. This game, Betz, I think is fun and exciting. I think there was a lot of hate coming into the Titans because they ruined the chance for a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl. Everybody wanted to see Lamar Jackson, or not Super Bowl, AFC Championship game, and everyone wanted to see Lamar Jackson go to the Super Bowl because, they were the best team. He's super exciting, probably going to be the MVP. And then here come these upstart douches just running the ball in your face with Derrick Henry. That's all it is.
I cannot believe you just said that.
I mean, everything else is so exciting. And then there's this team that's just taking this 6'7", 800-pound running back and running it into your face. And they've ran themselves all the way to the AFC Championship game. However, while everyone else feels that way, apparently, I do not. I love that the Titans are here. I think this is super fun. I'm currently rooting for them to make it to and win the Super Bowl. Although I'm not necessarily saying I predict that, but that's who I'm rooting for now that the Patriots are gone. I think it's going to be a super fun game. Let's start with the most fun player. Well, Derrick Henry's probably up there, but you can't get any more fun than Patrick Mahomes at this point. Quarterback of the Chiefs, pretty much best passer in playoff history right now. It's only 3 games for him, but he is as good here as he is in the regular season. What's the question? He's Patrick Mahomes. Is there any hesitation here? How high is he for you as far as targets in your DFS lineups?
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is it's a 4-game slate, right? So he's legitimately going to be like 70% owned in competitions. And there are 0 holes that I can poke in playing Patrick Mahomes. He's the top play on the slate without hesitation. And we know that, the offense in general is a pass-first offense. So that's plus number 1. Plus number 2 is this secondary for the Titans can be beat. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are as good as they come. So that's plus number 2. Plus number 3 is the fact that he's playing at home, and we know those splits are even better for Mahomes at home. So I don't know how you don't play him unless you're just saying, okay, I'm trying to get leverage on the field elsewhere. Maybe I'll go to a different player, different quarterback. And in that case, yes, I'm going away from him. But if I'm playing any cash lineup, he is definitely locked in.
Yeah. Last week against the Texans, who are susceptible on defense to both the run and the pass, 12 carries by running backs for the Chiefs, and they were all by Damian Williams. Then you had 1 by Sammy Watkins, 1 by Tyreek Hill, and 7 by Patrick Mahomes, who led the team in rushing. So the only time they're turning away from Patrick Mahomes passing the ball is when they're turning to Patrick Mahomes rushing the ball, apparently. Yeah. I don't think you can get away from him here. He's going to carry this team. If they're going to win, it's going to be on his arm and every other part, apparently, of his body, legs as well, and brain, because he's incredibly smart. He knows where to throw the ball, finds the open receiver. I don't know. He's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I ain't got anything else to say.
Before we move on, we did have a comment in the live chat here. Sweaty FS is the name of the player. Hopefully you're not too sweaty. Said Mahomes over 18.5 rush yards is the best player prop I've found on the books. And I agree. I would definitely be taking the over in that one.
Nice. I like it as well. All right. Let's head to the opposing quarterback. The only quarterback better than Patrick Mahomes. Just kidding. but he did have the highest pass rating in the NFL this season. It is Ryan Tannehill. Now, having said that, after a incredible, probable comeback player of the year type regular season, he has done diddly squat in the postseason. They have just ridden Derrick Henry and not thrown the ball. He still managed to get a few touchdowns in, but Tannehill is not putting up numbers. However, those were games that they won. This is a game that they are going to be facing the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Probably less of a chance here of destroying this team. Betz, are you willing to roll out Ryan Tannehill despite his massive lack of yardage over the first two games?
Oh, yeah. This is my favorite tournament play of the weekend. I mean, look at the recency bias. We talked about it a couple minutes ago. DFS players that are more your casual players will look at this and say, he hasn't done anything all season. Why is that going to change? And maybe it doesn't. They're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry at least 20 times, no doubt. But you look at this team, they are throwing the ball 50% out of play action, which is the highest in the league. And if this offense runs well early, Derrick Henry can establish that. And man, A.J. Brown over the top feels like it's going to happen this week. And in a game that has the highest over-under on the slate, in a game where, last time these two teams played, they went over 60 points combined. The Titans beat the Chiefs. I think this is a path for Ryan Tannehill to actually have a very nice game. And no one's really predicting it. I'm listening to some other podcasts this week, and I'm hearing a lot of people talk about Jimmy G as their favorite pivot off of Mahomes. I would disagree. I think Ryan Tannehill is firmly in play here and a really sneaky start option here for your DFS lineup.
Yeah, here's the thing. They're going to ride Derrick Henry here, and he's going to be good. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to stop him any more than anyone else has, potentially even less than some other people have. But this Chiefs offense is not going to stop scoring points, which means Ryan Tannehill is going to have to use his arm. They're going to have to probably play a little bit of comeback here and there. I think it's going to be close all game, and I think they're going to use both aspects of the game and have to put up a lot of points to win. And they're going to want to win because, that's how you get to the Super Bowl.
I hear that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think Ryan Tannehill has a really solid game as well. I really like that play, especially considering his price and probable usage here. Let's head to the running backs, and let's talk about Derrick Henry because holy a mackerel. This man is out of control. I don't know if I've seen a better stretch of football played by any player at any position in my lifetime.
No. That boy can run.
He is out of control. Insane. Over 180 rushing yards in 3 straight games. Only player to ever do that. He is demolishing defenses. I feel like I've seen, 3 runs, certainly a single hand's worth of runs that didn't go for 5+ yards. Every time he carries the ball, he's falling forward for 5 yards. And then every 5 times he carries the ball, he's breaking it for a 20-yard run where somehow he seems to outrun all the DBs and stiff arms at least 2 of them. I mean, what are you doing here, Bess? Are you playing him everywhere? Is his price too high? What are you going to do with Derrick Henry against a run defense that has not been very good?
If you think I'm going to fade Derrick Henry at this point, no.
You got your mind.
Yeah. I mean, Ben Heisler was on with us the last 2 weeks to preview some DFS content, and he was recommending that. And I was on board because, it's especially on DraftKings scoring where it's PPR, you kind of want that upside. But man, look at what this offense is doing. And we have to talk about Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs, either is going to miss this game or is going to be way less than 100% with that calf strain. So yeah, man, I think Derrick Henry, there's no doubt about it. He's getting 20 to 25 carries at a minimum. He's going to be bruising against, these linebackers in secondary in a game where there's like single digits. Like this is Derrick Henry's season. This is what's going to happen. So yes, I'm going to play a ton of him. I will definitely play some lineups without him, certainly, because he's chalk and he's going to be highly owned. But I don't want to miss out on those carries, and I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. And I will say, a sneaky kind of play that I like is a Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry stack. It kind of feels like a screen pass is coming because we haven't seen it in a while. So, yeah, give me Derrick Henry all day.
I like that as well. Let's quickly spin this forward a little bit, Betz, because we know Derrick Henry is on fire right now. He looks superhuman, literally. But let's spin it forward to next season.
Ooh.
You're going into your fantasy drafts, Betz. You've seen this now a couple years in a row where Derrick Henry is, he's good in the beginning half of the year. He's all right. And then suddenly he goes Super Saiyan and destroys teams for the latter half of the year. And now, because they're still winning, into the playoffs. But going into next year, if he's playing like he is now, he's the number one overall pick. He's certainly in the conversation with Christian McCaffrey. They're pretty much neck and neck, in my opinion, if he's playing like he is right now. However, you have been known to question Derrick Henry in the past. Are you going to question him again? Where will he, do you think, fall for you in your rankings next draft season?
Well, we did that exercise like a month ago, I think it was, or at least like early in the new year. I can't remember when it was, but we said, let's preview 2020. Let's do a 2-round mock. And I took him at number 10 overall. So certainly he's a first-round pick, no doubt about it. I'm really interested to see what this, front office does with Derrick Henry's contract, because he's up for a contract year right now, and he's going to get paid, no doubt about it. But if they commit to him, and give him a pretty significant salary and contract, like, I'm in, man. I mean, this is the new Titans offense, and it's working. So, yeah, I think I'm in on Derrick Henry. He'll probably be, at worst, if things trend the way they are right now, number 5 in my ranks, at worst.
Yeah, I think in years past, you can put a lot of the onus for Henry's end-of-year heroics on just his running style and the fact that defenses are getting more tired and weak. But in this particular season, I think so much of it is reliant on Ryan Tannehill coming in, this offense figuring out how they want to scheme things, and being able to be capable of both passing and running, sick play action efficiency. And it makes it impossible to stack the box against him. And if you do, he still runs well because he's Derrick Henry. Yeah. So I don't know how I'm going to keep him out of my top 4, maybe even 3 at the running back position. I think he definitely is a first-round pick. I agree with you there. He's going to be pretty high, man. This guy is in the elite category now, and he's not falling out anytime soon.
Yeah.
All right. Let's come back to the AFC Championship game, shall we? Damian Williams. He seems to be the guy to go with here. What do we have status-wise on LaShawn McCoy really quick? Do you have any interesting info there?
He was limited this week. Or I'm sorry, not limited. Did not practice Wednesday and Thursday because of illness is the last thing I saw. I'm not sure if he's practicing today. We're recording this on Friday afternoon at about 2:45. So I can do a quick Twitter search, but I have not heard. But regardless, man, like, he played 1 snap last week. Like,
yep.
Or sorry, 1 touch last week. He's not going to be a factor. This is Damian Williams' backfield through and through.
Agreed. Let's see. What's the question to ask here? You know what? Let's go with a prop.
Let's do it.
What we got here? We got rushing yards for Damian Williams. 57.5 is the line. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, you look at last week, 97% snap count for Damian Williams. He's out there on every single play. Yeah, I'm taking the over. I mean, you just play the percentages and the odds that he's going to be the one touching the ball. Yeah, give me the over.
And the receiving line for him is 26.5. I'm guessing you're probably taking the over there too.
I lost a pretty good amount of money last week. I took the over on, I think it was like 24.5.
Yeah, and he had like 21.
No? Yeah, man. He was close.
Yeah, he was close.
I'm going to go over as well. Again, you just play the odds, play the percentages. They love to pass the ball, and Damian Williams is out there on every play. Yeah, give me the over.
All right, I like it. Both good for his production, which means you also want to play him in your DFS lineup. So I like it. All right, let's go to the receiving position, the pass catchers. Let's start with Tyreek Hill. I feel like we started with George Kittle. Let's start with Tyreek Hill. Good gracious, did he score some touchdowns last week? He looked unstoppable. He looked pretty much as unstoppable as Derrick Henry looked over in the Titans game. Yeah, who did I say?
Tyreek Hill.
No. Get out of here, Tyreek Hill. He did not look unstoppable. He only had 41 yards. I meant Travis Kelce. Thank you. 10 catches, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns for Travis Kelce. Are you rolling him out there again? I think you said you prefer him over Kittle. What are you doing here?
I think at the price, I prefer Kittle, given that he's such a significant discount. But I'm going to play a lot of Travis Kelce this week. I don't know how you don't. Last week there was a little bit of a scare. People were saying he's got this IT band issue, his knees bother him, and fortunately, I think the nice thing about what we do is your NFL Network connections or whatever you want to call it, and my medical background. I said, don't be worried about that Q next to Travis Kelce. He's going to play. He's going to play well. And my God, did he ever. And this week he's listed again on the injury report with the knee. He was questionable to come back last week with that hamstring injury. So of course we want to monitor that. But right now, there's no way I'm fading Travis Kelce. Like, he's going to be a great play. He's going to be a very solid option. And in any cash lineup, I'm going to try to play Travis Kelce and George Kittle in the same lineup. I think that's a really good strategy. But in tournaments, I'm going to fade Travis Kelce a little bit. I will still play a lot of him, but yeah, I'm gonna play Kittle over him as far as a straight up play.
All right, I like that. I think that's fair. Tyreek Hill coming off not his best game. Sammy Watkins coming off a decent game. Big catch. 2 big catches, actually, to get him there. What are you doing with these receivers? And actually, you know what? Let's even throw in Mecole Hardman. Do you have any interest there in this trio?
Yeah, let's start with Tyreek, because obviously that's the most exciting name to talk about. And yes, I think Tyreek Hill is in a very good spot here. We've seen, perimeter wide receivers just absolutely crush the Titans all season. I don't see how that changes with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Tyreek Hill's speed. So yes, I am definitely very interested in Tyreek Hill. And then you look at the other options there, like, it's so hard to predict with these guys, right? Like, Sammy Watkins is on the field a ton. He's running most of the routes. So I'm going to play him over these guys. He's a little bit more pricey than a DeMarcus Robinson, than a Mecole Hardman. But I mean, just the eye test, right? Like, Mecole Hardman looks so much better than Robinson out there. And let's not forget, there is a chance that he does some damage in the return game. So I like him as a tournament play. Certainly you have to, like I said, you have to go down to one of these players to really make it work. Whether or not you're going to fit in another secondary Titan receiver like a Corey Davis or a Tajay Sharp is another question. But I lean with the explosiveness of this offense, and I lean towards Mecole Hardman at that cheap option.
Yeah, I think he's probably would be my favorite tournament play, Mecole Hardman, that is, because this feels like a game where Patrick Mahomes is going to throw 4 touchdowns again. And if he does, there's very little chance that Travis Kelce catches 3 again. And one of the best threats to score on this entire field is Mecole Hardman. He can catch a push pass and take it for a touchdown. True. So I really like that as a sneaky play. All right, let's head over to the Titans receiver situation. AJ Brown. Woo, do I love that man. Corey Davis, he caught himself a touchdown. It wasn't from Ryan Tannehill, but it was technically a receiving touchdown last week from Derrick Henry. You've got a couple guys deep down the lineup who could do something, but I think you're probably not. Is it just AJ Brown here? What do you think?
Well, AJ Brown certainly is in play. I just think he's going to be super chalky given his price tag. On DraftKings, I have to look real quick. I think I wrote it down, coming in at $5,200, like super cheap, super affordable, which I think makes him chalky. And that's the only bummer that I have with this situation. I talked about Ryan Tannehill and liking him as a tournament option. Certainly I'll play some Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown stacks. But I wish he was more expensive, because I feel like he would be lower owned if he was. And if Ryan Tannehill is going to move the ball through the air, if you're asking me if it's going to be Corey Davis or AJ Brown, I'm going to laugh and say AJ Brown.
True. Very true. Here's an interesting prop for you, Betz, while we're on the pass catching side of things, even though we didn't talk about it when we brought up the player. Derrick Henry's receiving yard line is set at 11.5. That feels like 1 catch. What do you think? He hasn't crossed it that often. Usually it's if he makes the catch, he crosses it, but
yeah, this is tough. I actually bet the over last week, and it was 9.5. And I was thinking the same thing. 1 catch, 1 screen. He's unstoppable on those screen passes. So yeah, if you're making me pick for the podcast, I'm going to take the over. I probably won't bet it though, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough. That's fair. All right. I think that any interest in Jonnu Smith if you're punting the tight end position?
Yes. He is my favorite play if you are looking for a Titans pass catcher that is not named AJ Brown. He's cheap, man, coming in at just $3,400. And the last time these two teams met, he saw 6 targets, went 4 for 30 yards. He's an athletic guy who can do something with the ball in his hands. And Kansas City has allowed the 5th most yards to tight ends on the season. So I think there's a lot of interest in Jonnu Smith. Again, as a tournament option, I like some Kittle and Jonnu Smith, back to back in my lineup, as well as a Kittle and what's his name? Jonnu Smith stack again. So I like that for sure. And player prop, 2.5
Mhm.
receptions is plus 125 right now. I'm going to take the over on that.
I like it. Yeah, they're gonna have to throw. They're gonna throw more than they have, and someone's gonna have to catch the ball besides AJ Brown. And Corey Davis is very good at it. No, just kidding. Sorry, Corey Davis truthers. All righty. Any other sneaky plays you want to hit on? Any special props you've been saving for this game? Or we covered it.
Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot. As far as sneaky plays, I mean, one thing just to consider is if you're going to roll out a little bit of a contrarian play like a Tajay Sharp, just monitor. Adam Humphries' report right now is that he's feeling good. He might try to give it a go. He's coming off of like a month and a half absence from a pretty significant ankle injury. So certainly I don't have interest in him, but if he's back, I think he and Tajay Sharp kind of split that wide receiver 3 role. So that would really hurt him in that aspect. So yeah, man, I feel like we said it all. We gave a lot of good player props. We picked the first game against the spread. That's the last thing you got to do.
All right. 7.5 is a spread again. Chiefs favored at home. I'm gonna let you start, Betz, but I just want to warn you ahead of time. I may be coming in with some spice.
I think I'm with you on this one, man. I think the Titans can at least cover the spread. I don't think they win, but they can cover a touchdown here for sure. So I like the Titans to cover the spread.
I like the Titans to cover the spread and win the game.
No,
They are so hot, Betz.
So hot
They're
right
so
now.
Hot. They're so hot right now. Listen, the Chiefs' run defense is suspect. Especially without Jones. Their pass defense has been better. So if they weren't facing the most destructive runner in the entire National Football League right now, I would feel a little better. Patrick Mahomes is going to put up points. He's going to keep this game close all game long. It might even be an overtime type situation. But this is a 200-plus rushing yard type of day for Derrick Henry, potentially. And Ryan Tannehill can do it if he has to. I know listen, I'm not saying I'm going to bet it because, well, I'm not because I can't. I'm not even going to, I might not even do it if I could. But I would certainly bet them to cover, and think
a coward.
I think that they will win it. So if you want to go out and do it, go for it. Didn't I feel like I predicted an upset that turned out happening. Maybe it was not last week. Maybe it was the week before. I can't remember. No,
I think it was last week.
Was it? Oh, yeah. It was Tennessee.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. They just beat the Ravens, Betz. If they could beat the Ravens at home and they beat the Patriots at home, you're telling me they can't beat the Chiefs at home? Get out of here.
I mean, they could. I'm not gonna say they will, but let's not forget the Patriots were playing the worst football.
I know, that's fair. The Ravens, however, were playing the best football, and they got crushed. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be closer than the Ravens game was, which was not close. But I think the Titans will come out here and win this game.
Hey, man, when you have a 6'4", like 260 person with a freaking dread ponytail coming at you,
true,
you're gonna have to make a business decision. Like, there's definitely a realm of possibility where the Titans win this game, no doubt about it. But yeah, I think they cover. I don't think they actually win. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
It's fair.
It's gonna be a fun game.
All right. Before we close it out, Betz, I just have some fun other props pulled up. Maybe not so much fun, but just interesting. Most receiving yards in the conference championships. You got Adams at plus 325. You got Kelsey at plus 400. Tyreek at plus 375. Kittle at plus 450. After that, it drops pretty heavily to Debo at plus 850. AJ at plus 650. Who would you go with if you had to pick one of these guys?
Yeah, I like that. I would take Tyreek Hill. We just saw Hollywood Brown go for 126 on 7 receptions, and obviously we know that Tyreek Hill is more of an elite wide receiver at this stage in their careers. So yes, I would take that. That's a really solid bet, actually.
All right, this one's amusing for other reasons. Most rushing yards. Derrick Henry is at minus 275. He's favored against the entire slate of other running backs. Next closest is Aaron Jones at 550, and then Mostert at 950. Are you willing to just go with Henry at the minus 275? Or are you going to try to take a shot at someone else? What do you think?
I mean, at that juice, I'm not going to, but I don't know how he doesn't actually win this.
Yep, it's 100%. Any other interesting ones? You got any overalls you're interested in here?
I would say, not even talking about the player prop. Like, I like the over in the Texans. I'm sorry, not the Texans,
Titans,
the
Chiefs.
Titans and the Chiefs
Yep.
game. And I
Good
got it
call.
at 51 before it got pushed to 52.5. So if you like the over, I would say, wait a day or two and kind of see what happens here. I think money will probably come in on the under, given that it's climbed a full 1.5. And if it comes down to 52 or 51.5, I'm going over.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I talked a little bit earlier about how I think both teams are going to score. Mahomes is not going to be slowed down, which means the Titans are going to have to put up points. I think this is a very good chance of a Chiefs-Texans kind of score, which was well over this mark. So I like that. All right. I think that pretty much covers it, Betz. That is the conference championship weekend. The two winners of these games that we have just previewed, Betz, there will only be two. And those two winners will be playing in Super Bowl 54 in Miami. Wow. Wild.
What a time to be alive.
What a time. Can you imagine if it's the Titans in the Super Bowl, by the way? Holy mackerel.
I mean, if it is, I'm rooting for him. No doubt about
it. Facts. It is a fun team. Let's just get your overall early. I don't know if we'll do a Super Bowl preview. Hopefully we will, but
we will. We will.
Don't. Yeah. What is your desired outcome for these next three games, and what is your predicted outcome for these next three games?
I think. Well, I shouldn't say that. I would like to see the Chiefs and the Niners in the Super Bowl. I would also like to see Andy Reid win his first Super Bowl. As a former Eagles coach, I'll pull for Andy Reid to do that. But man, I don't know. I kind of have a feeling like the Titans can do it. So yeah, they're playing with house money at this point. I think the Niners get there, no doubt. I think they can easily beat the Packers. And I think there's a very good chance that the Chiefs win this game. But if you're telling me that like 9 times out of 10 it's going to happen, I would say probably not. Like the Titans are for real, and it can be a really close game. So I would like to see the Chiefs take on the Niners, and I would like to see Andy Reid win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are pulling for Andy Reid to win the Super Bowl, so I can certainly respect that. I personally despise the Chiefs. They're one of my least favorite teams. I have likened it, because everyone's been questioning me on it, I have likened it to, when you're like a nice older married couple, like in your 50s, and then some young attractive girl comes along, and the husband like gives them a glance, kind of like that one meme.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa, what are you doing looking at this young hot thing? I feel like the Patriots are the older, wonderful, beautiful wife, and the entire world is looking over at the Chiefs, taking over the AFC as the young hotness. And so I don't like them. That's all I got for that.
Dude, that is a perfect analogy, and it could not be more true.
Yeah, it's rough for us. But I think and hope that the Titans not only win the AFC Championship, but win the entire Super Bowl. I'm bought in, man. I don't know what to tell you. They just destroyed the Ravens. I can't go any other direction at this point. And I would like the Packers to make it, because they were my prediction from the beginning, but I don't think they do. I think the 49ers pull it out and then lose to the Titans. I think Mike Vrabel goes out and gets himself his first Super Bowl. Wild to even say that, but I don't know.
On that note, I know this is a non-explicit show, so I'm going to be anatomically correct in saying this. Did you see the report?
Yes.
Preseason that he said he would cut off his male genitalia to win a Super Bowl. So, hey man, here we are.
Well, listen, as far as we know, it may have happened, and that's why they're here. I don't know.
Oh God.
Yeah, we'll close it out with that incredibly good analysis, because that's what you get here on the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us all season if you have, or if you're brand new, welcome. Interesting time to join, but hey, it's fun. We're here in the conference championship weekend. This is it, pretty much. After this, we have a single week of Super Bowl podcastage, and then we're out of the regular season, we're out of the playoffs, we're out of 2019, and we are into dynasty prep. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But any last words, Betz, before we head into conference championship weekend and close out this last week of the year with multiple football games?
Not necessarily anything that is super relevant. I would say, don't forget, Find us on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are at RedShirtsFF Pod. And hey, if you like what you're hearing, drop us a little rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. It's a good way to say thank you. I've been trying to go through some podcasts that I listen to and actually just give them that 5-star rating because it's a nice way to give back and say, hey, thanks for putting in all this time. You guys rock. So we would love it.
100% agreed. We hope to see you all next week. And until then, or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know. Follow the Twitter. If you follow the Twitter, you'll know. That's how you know. Until then, we are the Red Shirts.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. Hit us up on Twitter at RedShirtsFFPod and check out our website, redshirtsfantasyfootball.com.